Welcome to Hue at Home. We are on location. It is Comic-Con 2022, alive and well. We'll do a little recap with some great interviews. I sit down with Charles Martinet, Kevin McDonald, Ruth Connell, and we start things off with Jason Rockman. He's the spokesperson for Comic-Con. Well, Jason, thank you once again for bringing this great event back to Winnipeg. I know that there are so many fans, so that's where I'm going to start with. Do you ever get or cease to get amazed on how popular Comic-Con is?
Never. I mean, I do get surprised on how the numbers grow, but being someone who's been putting on these events or helping to put on these events for years now, I know how important these events are to people. And just seeing the enthusiasm on people's faces, it doesn't surprise me because it's infectious. You know, happiness is infectious. Good vibes are infectious. So when you see that spreading and more people coming every year, it's not a surprise that they grow. And for us, it's just, our event's all about good, happy, good times. There's nothing negative about our event, which is great.
Yeah, and so we all know that we're coming out of a pandemic.
Yeah.
People, there is still that apprehension. What are some of the changes, or are there any changes, or it's just full-on Comic-Con?
I mean, it really is full-on Comic-Con. In terms of, guest safety, we always have what we would normally have at our shows in place, and then we follow whatever province we're in for guidelines. So, whatever Manitoba has in place, that's what we're following. So, there'll be, if people want to wear masks, absolutely, please do. We've seen a lot of people at events, even after mask mandates are gone, still want to wear masks, and that's the great thing about our event. Like, we're people that accept everything. We're super accepting. So the last thing we're going to go is, why are you wearing a mask? Like, if you feel safer to wear a mask, by all means, it is the time of year where, colds might happen more, and so do it. But we follow whatever guidelines are in place in the provinces.
And how do you get your guests? I mean, this year you've got Charles here, you've got Bruce Campbell coming in. It's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, Leah Thompson is coming,
Yes.
who's actually filming stuff in Winnipeg, which was just a great, a great timing for us. But we have a great programming department. The people that go after our guests are doing it year round. They're already looking at guests for 2023 for all of our shows. So it's an ongoing process that seems like it's oh yeah, we just made a call and Bruce showed up. But imagine all the other shows around the world that are competing for guests, and we got Bruce Campbell on Halloween weekend. It's just it's just amazing. So we get our guests by having great relationships with agents, and our guests love coming to our shows because we treat them well, and they know that we put on good events, and it's just, I guess it's just a lot of people pulling together the resources and working hard, and we're really excited about this year's guest list.
So how did you get into this business?
I'm a big nerd. I'm a big geek. I work in radio. So for me, it was kind of like, well, we need someone that really loves the event. And I was going to these events all over the world before we started our first one in Montreal. And when we had, when the first event started in Montreal, I went to the event as a journalist, and I covered the event, and I spoke to the organizers. And I'm like, we should really try to get you more media coverage, and then it just grew from there. And now, I've been.
Now you're it.
Now I'm the guy for the 4 shows, which is great because I am a real big pop culture aficionado and nerd, and I love all this stuff. It's fun.
Well, thank you so much, Jason.
100%. Thank
enjoy
you.
your weekend here.
Thank you.
It is Halloween, kids, coming up, so you got to come down to the convention center this weekend, see all the stars, and thank you again.
Thank you.
What a great way to spend off Halloween.
Yeah, totally. Thanks.
What's up? Ooh, say what, say what, say what? Girl, you know what's up? Ooh, say what, say what, say what? Girl, you know what's up? I'm digging you. I'm feeling you. Girl, you know what's up? Say I'm digging you, and I'm more than you. So tell me what's up? Tell me what's up? Girl, you know what's up? Ooh, say what, say what, say what? Girl, you know what's up?
All right, come on in. You're an Italian plumber from Brooklyn. We'll set the camera back up for a company called Nintendo. His name is Mario. And so it's a video game. So make up a voice, make up a video game, whatever you want to make up. I'm not going to pay you to do nothing. So this is a real-time animation system. If it works, you're going to do that. If not, you're going to talk all day. So make up a voice, don't stop till you run out of things to say. And so I said to myself, Italian plumber from Brooklyn. Get out of my face, I'm waiting here. I thought, no, I don't want to do that, because what if there are kids in the audience? But I had done Gremio and Taming of the Shrew in the theater, nice Italian guy. I thought, I'll do that, I'll do that voice, but I'll make him younger, and then I'll just make up a video game. Waka, 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 waka. Tuk, tuk, tuk. I knew nothing. I'd never heard of Mario, never heard of Nintendo, had no idea whatsoever. So I heard action, I said, hello, I'm Mario. Let's make a pizza pie together. And I started making food, because that's obviously one of my passions in life. And I just kept up making up pasta until I ran out of pasta names, and then I started making up things. Then we can make a raspato tortello, and I'm going to chase you with a raspato tortello, and if I catch you, you got to eat the raspato tortello, and then make a raspato tortello and chase me with it. And I just kept going and going and going and going, because he never said stop. And I do one thing properly, I take direction. And I finally heard, stop talking! Cut, there's no more tape, thank you, we'll be in touch. And I thought for sure that means go back to the beach and watch the sunset and go have dinner with your friend, which is what I did. And he got on the phone, he called Nintendo, he said, I found our Mario, I got him. And that was the only tape that they sent, and that was 31 joyful years ago. Thank you. Hello, it's me, Super Mario. Wahoo! You number one.
Oh, Charles, okay. I guess we all know the incredible story on how you gave life to Mario.
That's great.
What has Mario given you?
Oh my goodness, that's a lovely question. I feel, first of all, it's a tremendous honor and a joy to have an impact on children's lives, And Mario, for me, the decisions that I made, actually it was during Mario Teaches Typing. When I read the script and it said, oh, you failed, you have to go back to the beginning and start again. And I said, can I change that line a little bit? Because I believe in positive reinforcement. He said, oh, sure, go ahead. He said, that was great, but I know you can do even better. Let's go again. And they said, oh. And that gave me the definition of the character of love and kindness and caring and respect for everyone, all the time. And so that's what I get from Mario, is that desire to be that myself, the ideal human being that is always caring, always, choosing kindness and going ahead, and also having the courage to go, let's go, when the chips are down.
Oh, okay.
I tend to do,
You must be the most incredible grandpa. I think your kids and your grandkids are blessed. This world today, human beings, this whole event, Comic-Con, uplifting spirits. There's a lot of weight on our society, and a lot of, I guess, negative connotations with video games. And now you've seen the world and how it is unfolded.
Yeah.
What light can you bring in all of your wisdom? You look at Mario, and he has survived 30-odd years.
Yeah, it's because of the joy, the happiness, the love. I always say befriend yourself, you stop talking to yourself so negatively, because you see this negativity in the world, and it's like, people are good. People are caring and loving and wonderful being. Everybody, you can have different opinions, different ideas, but you can still respect each other. You can still be Mario. Always respectful, caring, loving, honest, have integrity and have values. And I think that it's easy if you watch too much news, or too much of the news on one side or the other, to think that the other side is something. All people have goodness in them. They really do, and video games are a wonderful way for people to play together, to experience, to discover, to unfold together the great joys. And which is what I love about Mario, the exploration, the new surprises, because as you get older, it's easier to get cynical. But you can still choose innocence. You can still choose joy. And I think that's what Mario does, is brings us back to that joyous innocence of our childhood, the magic that we experienced in having that fun and exploring that world. I think that's what we all need more of.
Oh, I know. And yes, and as we all get older, just talking to you, Charles, I feel a very genuineness, if that's
Thank
a
you.
word, I think.
I think
Where would you be, Charles Martinet, if Mario didn't come?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd be still. I tend to be, I think, a bit of a spiritual being in a physical body. Still really doing, that, and still trying to be a wonderful person, or as good a person as I could be. I might be doing sitcoms in Los Angeles more likely, but
Yeah, I do recognize you now.
just being silly and having fun. I've never had the discipline to write, so there's no threat that I'd be writing a sitcom or writing anything of voluminous power. But I'd be doing performing. I'd be
Yes.
finding some way to perform because I believe in performing from joy and happiness. When I was doing acting as a young man, I met a guy with a stutter, and I said, "Have you always had this stutter?" Because he was in my acting class. Because no, I was 21 years old, my birthday. I went to this comedian in Las Vegas with all my friends. After the show, or when I thought the dessert was coming and the lights turn on our table, "Hey, stand up, it's somebody's birthday today." "Oh, never mind, sit down, look at that ugly kid, And he said he kept making fun of me. And the more he made fun of me, the more people laughed, and the smaller I felt, and I woke up the next morning with a stutter, and I've had it ever since. So for me, life is full of markers where you make decisions. And for me, in that moment, I didn't say, "Oh, well, I'll certainly never do that." But I knew then that my comedy would never hurt people. It would never be at somebody else's expense. So all the characters that I create, all the villains, always it comes back on them. They think that
Yes.
the toilet seat is their crown or something. That's always the silliness coming back. But also creating from a place of joy and happiness and love and fun, which I think is equally valid. I remember hearing somebody on an interview once say, "There is no creativity without suffering. I suffered, and from my suffering," and I'm like, well, you could also go whoopee and have fun with it.
Oh, Charles, you're going to have a great weekend. There's so
Thank
many
you.
people that want to talk to you. Words of wisdom.
Yes, well,
I'm sure you'll get that. You've been asked that. But
Well, first of all, let me say I can't wait to see you at Comic-Con here in Winnipeg. I'm very excited about it. Come by. We'll be signing autographs and taking pictures and having fun. And we have a discussion, too, which you can ask me questions. I love that. My words of wisdom is love yourself. Start developing a relationship with yourself and a friendship with yourself as though you are the nicest person in the world, the one that you love the most, because you'd never treat other people the way you treat yourself. So find a way to get that negative voice silenced and take over that voice in yourself, in your adult persona, in your power, in your self-respecting, self-esteeming way that you can. It's hard. It's not easy because we're raised with that, oh, you're this, you're that. But, to gently, and sometimes forcibly silence that voice and become that person that you want to be, because it's right there. And that's your gift to the world, to be you.
well, thank you. Thank you for your gift, Charles.
Thank you very much. And thank you for playing my games. Woohoo!
Tell us a little bit about River City Jedi.
River City Jedi is a combat instructing group where we teach people how to fight with lightsabers. However, these things are rather dangerous, and we only do so once they are properly trained and we have proper protective gear. We have classes every second week for about $10, and the first class right after Comic-Con is free for newcomers. For any newcomers who don't have blades, we have some that they can use for the classes.
Can you explain then your lightsaber? What is it made out of?
Not too familiar. I'm pretty sure the handle is some kind of stainless steel, and I think this is made out of some kind of fiberglass, perhaps. These things are very sturdy and have broken bones before when used unregulated.
And have you had broken bones?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm one of the newcomers to River City Jedi, only joining like a little before the con.
So why did you join?
I joined because my dad goes to it, and I really wanted some help just staying in shape and getting like my cardio up. It's a very welcoming group. We have a very good community. It's one of our selling points, and we're very open to beginners, for people who want to get into exercise, and such.
Using the word reunion, no, wait, more than fine. This sounds like I'm hiding something horrible. It went great, it went great. It went between good and great. It went good great. It went good great. It didn't really feel like a reunion to us. It didn't really feel like a reunion it didn't really feel like a reunion to it. Because we're together all the time. We tour every few years and we hang out all the time, though we live in different cities. We were never scared that we were going to be like bad at sketches because we never thought of it, because we're not smart enough to be scared. That's sort of the secret of success, not being smart enough to be scared. And it went fine. We wrote sketches. We wrote a lot of sketches. Some of the sketches were like typical Kids in the Hall sketches that didn't fit into today's world. So they didn't get in. So, but we knew that was going to happen, so we didn't even complain about it. We were sort of like happy idiots. It went very well, and hopefully we'll get together again and do some more stuff, and like a tour, and maybe another show. Who knows? It feels like such a short answer. I feel like I should keep going.
Thank you.
I am Kevin here at Comic-Con.
Yeah, Kevin is here at Comic-Con.
I am Kevin at Comic-Con.
Yes, okay, but no stranger really to these events for you. You said your third time?
My third time was I may have missed one. One, two. This is my fourth time.
Fourth time now, okay.
Is it boring TV for me to count in front of the camera? 1, 2, no, 7 times. No, fourth time.
All right, okay, so, I mean, we were all so happy to see the kids reunited again. You were on stage and you kind of reiterated that, yeah, it was good. Reunions are a good thing, right?
Reunions are a good thing. Like I said, we've never split up.
No.
I mean, there was a time after Brain Candy where we weren't talking to each other, but we still hadn't split up. And then we got back together because we had a manager that said, people want to see you live. But that's a boring story. But that's the one time where it felt like a reunion. Now we just, especially with Zoom, I see them all the time. We have Zoom meetings every day, so nothing will feel like a reunion ever again.
No, Zoom. Your comments on Zoom.
Right. The saddest reunion will be when one of us dies and we're at the funeral. That'll feel like a reunion.
Oh my goodness. All right, Kevin, humor across the board. We all want to laugh, but humor has changed.
Right.
Boundaries have changed. You had mentioned in the heyday of Kids in the Hall, you had no boundaries, and
Right.
you could do anything, and everything was funny, and it was okay to say off-color, whatever. Now, every time you open your mouth.
I know, and we spent the first few weeks writing the Kids in the Hall with you can't say that! I'd be halfway through a sentence, don't say that! And then it's no fun to write comedy, and then, so what we did was, let's stop yelling at each other, and it's just us writing, and then let Amazon tell us that we can't do that, and they did.
Oh, they did.
They did a few things. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I imagined it was going to be, but there were a few. I was going to tell you some, but I can't because then that I'd be telling the world. But there's some funny ideas that we think, like I think Dave Foley said this once. One thing about Kids in the Hall is we've never been mean. I think the best of comedy, even South Park isn't really mean. Like there's the characters sometimes mean to each other and stuff, but there's sort of a kindness to it, and I think meanness gets me more than anything else. We learn to adjust, and we like I said when I was on stage, that it was in the 90s. It was too much. Say anything you want. Any joke is good. You're on HBO, and that's don't say anything. And I feel you've got to do the don't say anything to counteract the say anything you want. And somewhere in 20, 30 years, or 10 years, or maybe 5 years, we'll meet in the middle, where people will say, well, okay, you can say that because there's a point to it and it's funny.
Right.
Because there was the things that we weren't allowed to do, we thought had a point to it and were funny. But we're just young enough. We'll sit on them, and maybe the world will change, and we'll get to do them.
Well, let's hope so. And
But I applaud the world. You're doing the right thing, world. You're doing the right thing, but hopefully we'll meet in the middle.
Well, improv, and that's the whole beauty of improv is the spontaneity of it.
And I'd like
How
holding
is
your
that?
thoughts back. Yeah.
Like you are right now, holding
Yes.
your arms.
Yeah, yes.
When you should be like
In the 90s, I was like this all the time. And now
Jazz
I'm like
hands.
this. Yeah, well, I did improvise for the first time since the lockdown a few weeks ago, and so I didn't think anything. I just said whatever I wanted. But I trust myself. I trust myself that if I was going to say anything that was more shocking and funny and didn't have a point, that I would stop halfway through my sentence at the very least.
and hold that thought.
I hold that thought.
So now, like when you're writing, there's so many different things I would imagine that are going through your mind now because the world is changing and society changes too as well. So what sparks your creativity, your imagination inside Kevin McDonald's head?
Well, for the show, it was. There's a lot of sketches. I think the other guys wrote them too, but I wasn't going for this. But we were writing for 3 weeks, and then the lockdown hit, and so we were writing through Zoom. And I was stuck in Toronto. I live here in Winnipeg, as you know, and I was stuck in Toronto. So I wrote a lot of scenes about loneliness. I wrote a lot of scenes about loneliness, and like you're always right about your experience. I mean, sometimes it's imagination, the idea comes to your head. Sometimes it's your experience. But I wasn't experiencing anything but being by myself. So I wrote a lot of songs, I wrote a lot of scenes. There was a lonely guy in a bathtub, a lonely guy complaining about his fence, a lonely guy who gets 2 cats who plan to kill him. It was so that was like during the show anyway. But in general, I think I always talk about the Beatles. That your creative brain is half Paul McCartney and half John Lennon. Paul McCartney wrote from more imagination, and John Lennon wrote about experience. And it's easier to write about. Comedy really is the exaggeration of experience. But when you're writing a lot, you're in such a loop. I'm almost finished talking. I swear. You open the loop. You open the window. And ideas just come to you, imagination ideas come to you. So when you're writing a TV show, it's sort of a rich harvest of ideas.
It is, and I think, you know what, I'm hoping that TV does come alive again. TV is kind of dead right now because there's so much out there.
Yeah, it's
And-
funny because it was hitting a good period, like
Yes.
for at least our shows, and now there's so much, I swear. And I don't like sitcoms. I'm my own cranky man. Who cares about me? It's just my stupid opinion. I'm talking Mr. and Mrs. Camera. I did sitcoms I haven't liked for a while.
No, they're bad. Like
Bad sitcoms.
Bad.
Bad.
Like really. But Kevin, through all of this COVID isolation, obviously you wrote about loneliness. What?
Without planning to, but I did.
I know, and made it funny. Was there anything funny about what we just experienced?
Well, if you're in the right frame of mind and you have the right sense of humor, anything is fun. B, you have to know when the time to share that with the world is. Sometimes it's the right time to keep it in your head. So if there's anything that I think is funny about COVID, I will keep it in my head for 6 or 7 more years. and then do my COVID 5 minutes of comedy. But I think that anything is funny. But there's a difference between thinking funny things and saying funny things that will hurt people at that time. So if I'm at my Uncle Felix's funeral and I probably would think of something funny, I'm not going to say it later when we're eating to Uncle Felix's children. I'll keep it to my head for a while.
That's a good point. Oh, and on that note, Kevin, thank you for being part of Comic-Con, bringing some laughter.
Thank you.
Let's bring it on.
Let's
We
bring it
need
on.
something to laugh about.
Remember, anything is funny, but keep it in your head sometimes.
And what about that mayoral election? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We'll end it there.
Yeah. I lost.
Oh, sad.
I mean, my vote. I wasn't running.
Welcome to Winnipeg. And Ruth, we have actually surpassed all of our expectations for Comic-Con this year. Winnipeggers have come out in droves to see not only you, of course, but so I think it's just the idea of just being together.
Yeah.
You've only been here for a few hours enjoying Comic-Con. What have you sort of noticed about the crowds?
Everyone's really happy to be here, and there's actually, I feel like a kind of a calmer aspect to everything compared to beforehand. I feel like people are just quite respectful about the people's space, and I think the break probably did us some good, you know, in some ways.
Yes, and home is Scotland, but
and Los Angeles.
and Los Angeles.
I feel like
Compare the
both.
two. I mean, it must be like night and day.
Well, one's very rainy and one's really not. That's the biggest.
Yes.
That's the biggest difference. The biggest thing about home is my family and friends. Those people that love you unconditionally are 5,000 miles away quite a lot of the time. So I really, honestly enjoy coming to the fan events. They feel a little bit like home now as well. All the fans are always so warm, and you get a lot of love. It's amazing.
Oh, I know. And in playing a character, as you did in Supernatural, I know that fans here are coming to see that character, ask you questions about her. I'm kind of taking it on an angle as a female, as an actress, a long time running character on the series. Ruth, what is the climate like now for actresses in the genre?
You know, I started in Los Angeles at an age where you're supposed to start thinking about retiring, and I just began. So I think anything can go nowadays, and I think things are moving in the right direction, which is not to say that I have millions and millions of opportunities. I don't. I have a couple, and I really try and make the most of the ones I get, and I'm really excited that I'm doing another show called Dead Boy Detectives, so I'm really, really thrilled because, you know, opportunities in our business, you know, are not so prevalent, especially when you do get over even 25, I'm going to say. And I passed that mark a long time ago, so I'm super grateful for the ones I get. And I think things are moving in the right direction for people of colour, non-binary, gender, all those things. I think things are definitely getting better. They're not perfect yet.
No, they definitely aren't. When you look at your character in Supernatural, Rowena, what made her special for you?
I think that she really enjoyed being naughty. And I think it's really fun to watch someone having fun. And the thing that I try to take away from her that I still suffer with is she never said the S word. The sorry word, she never did. You know, I think there was a couple of times she was a little bit sorry, but she would never let on. And I think too many women are too apologetic, just in general on a daily basis. So I think Rowena she was unapologetically Rowena, and I think people enjoyed seeing a woman be like that, especially surrounded by like 4 usually or 5, depends how many tall men around her.
Yes.
She's the wee bossy one in the middle, and quite happy about it.
And for yourself too, Ruth, when does the real Ruth come through? Or is it just one continuous, one character after the other?
I think I brought to Rowena a little bit more. My first episode was called Soul Survivor, and I think I tried to bring some of the depth of she's not just a flat, hard baddie. I tried to bring in some of the depth that we all have, the layers that we all have. So I like to think there's a little bit of Ruth in there when it comes to, you know, there are some deep feelings occasionally. Rowena.
Do you ever think that if you had never left Scotland, you'd be where you are today?
No. And it's really, I will say this, is like the further away I go from home, the more popular I am. It's like I had to go 5,000 miles away to be appreciated. And people, especially in America and Canada, are also like, oh, we love your accent. And I'm like, oh, I can't help it. It's
I
just
know.
the way I sound. But back home, we all sound the same. But it's in my astrology, apparently, which I've learned more about since playing Rowena, since playing a witch, and learning more about all these types of things. Apparently it is in my birth chart that I'm more successful abroad.
Well, there you go.
So there you go.
I mean, their loss, our gain is how we say it.
Well, yeah, I think what's nice is back home now. I think hopefully it will help me back home with projects back home.
Yes.
You know, I want to
wouldn't
work
that
in
be-
the UK too, and in
Yes.
Scotland. I'd love to do another play and be back there.
Yes, live theater, nothing like it. For words of wisdom, though, for yourself, Ruth, to other young ladies, maybe a young lady just like you, sitting in her living room.
It's so easy to say and so hard to do. It's like, try not to worry so much. When you start to worry, realize that's all it is. It's just...
That is a wrap for Comic-Con 2022. A special thank you to all of our guests on today's show, and we'll see you next year at Comic-Con 2023. I'm Tracy Koga. So long. We'll see you next time on Hue at Home.